Do you have a typed explanation for the default budget, how that's figured?
I've given you several handouts
There's a
on the
RSA.
default budget that had the whole methodology on it.
Right, do you,
Start to
as I
finish.
recall, do you have the, like, the wording blurb that could,
Well, the RSA
Sure.
itself
The
is
RSA, if you
simple.
look on the warrant article, the
Yeah.
RSA says what it is, it's the,
It's pretty simple.
Because our space is limited, so it has to.
Right, I also, just to get people to understand it, it was in the handout for the budget hearing too,
Mhm.
that,
Yeah,
so it explains in
that's in
detail
my
all
copy.
that.
okay. All right, so we'll work online this week, so you'll send it to us tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah,
I will try.
okay,
So
okay.
pay attention to those.
And if you can send us not just the language, but the actual document, just so that we can.
Yeah, I'll have to put it in as if
Yeah.
it was in this, so we
Right,
can work off
okay,
of the
yeah,
framework of
okay.
that.
Okay, get started there.
might want to give some space to recognize them all in there?
In this,
Yeah, small space to that.
What was that?
He-
Recognizing what?
Paul.
Oh, Paul Maurice.
I don't know, because we've got like people who are retiring and we don't put them in there,
Yeah,
That's a warrant to us.
you know?
yeah, I just
Yeah.
trying to think of things that would fit in there and
I mean, it's a
might
nice
be of
idea, it's just,
community interest.
it would be one of those, well, you know, why did no senior ever get recognized for this and all of a sudden this year one is, you know, just one of those things where people go, and no one's voting on it, you know, so. Any other thoughts, or I'm welcome. Okay, then, is there anything else? We've got a PowerPoint, we have speakers for each article, we're gonna work on the descriptions.
That's what I had on my list.
Okay, I see no bad weather in the forecast.
They never, we're done for the rest of the winter.
I mean, we might be freezing, but, you know.
The almanac says dry.
Now, to that extent, that's something that we will need to change on the mailer this year. It's Saturday to Saturday, but no,
Yeah,
you know, we'll
Yeah,
we'll change all the
emphasize it's
ratings.
not.
right. Okay, proposed calendar for 15-16.
So I have a proposed calendar. I got union input just before this meeting, so that's why it was not in the packet. I was hoping to get that beforehand in case there were any changes.
They have to vote on it, because I had asked Stacy to email it to us all, but they have to vote on it before we can see
Yeah,
it.
part of our contract says that they, 30 days before the board sees it, they will get it, so to provide us input, so. I will go through it. So on this calendar, we are proposing having teacher workshop days on August 31st and September 1st, with students starting on Wednesday, September 2nd. It is before Labor Day, but Labor Day is late this year, so again, you run into, you could bump it out 3 days, but then you get into the end of the year. So having that start. So then we would have September 7th off for Labor Day. We are scheduling an early release day on September 23rd, and the reason for that would be as part of our state waiver, we have to we're developing school-wide goals for the year for that teachers will, that's part of the teacher evaluation process. Some districts are doing them individual teachers. We have chosen to do them as a school-wide goal for all teachers to work on the same goal. And so that will be an opportunity in September for teachers to review data for their school and develop goals. September 23rd, October 9th.
It should say 9th, it says 10th.
It says 10th, yeah.
Oh,
That's why I was all confused. Is a teacher workshop day that's traditionally the NEA convention. And if the teacher's contract passed, that will become a teacher workshop day for us. Then the 12th is Columbus Day. In November, We would look to have parent-teacher conferences. And actually, this was a recommendation. I sent out a survey to teachers about parent-teacher conferences and their thoughts on doing them before the holidays, were there other suggestions, kind of giving a bunch of options. Several teachers came up with this as an option, and I thought it was, seemed to be a good one. It does break up that week a little bit, but I don't think as significantly. So we would have parent-teacher conferences on the night of the 9th and the morning of the 10th.
I have only one question about that. So what do we have to have as a minimum attendance to count the day as a school day?
Nothing, there is no minimum.
Oh, okay,
attendance.
because we won't get attendance on the 9th.
Right, so, well, I think you would,
I mean, we'll get some, but we'll have a lot of kids out.
so, I will note that teachers, I kind of asked them, did you have the same number, less or more? Was it a positive thing having it before vacation? And, for the most part, teachers said they had less attendance. Of course, the weather probably played a little into it. It was kind of a crummy day on that day as well, so there's lots of things, but, this was actually a suggestion of the teachers, so we looked to put that on the evening of the 9th and the morning of the 10th.
And I actually fielded some complaints too, so.
Yeah, yeah.
But the only complaints I heard, not from teachers, from parents,
Yeah.
were from parents who weren't gonna be there anyway. They said things like, I traveled for Thanksgiving. Well, then you weren't coming, your kid wasn't coming to a half day of school either, right? I mean, you just invalidated your own argument. I'm fine with this, though. So, I just asked about the attendance because I don't want us to get in that
No.
spot.
The 25th would be an early release day, traditionally.
Well,
Yeah.
last year, it was right before Thanksgiving, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
The day before.
And I thought there was an argument against having it this early last year.
No,
It
there
was
was
from
an
us.
argument against,
Too late.
it was too late this year, having it before Christmas, before
Because
Thanksgiving.
report cards.
Yeah, it was probably 3 weeks too late. So it's traditionally either the week of the 9th or 10th, and it kind of, it's nice to fall within that holiday period at some point, the one day. So this seemed to work out okay.
I guess I was thinking, why didn't we do it this time last year?
We have,
It was
this is,
because of what this week looked like last year, because the holiday
It was on
last
a
year was on
Monday.
a Tuesday.
A
So
Tuesday.
the kids were gonna come Monday, take Tuesday off, come Wednesday and take Thursday off, and we said, that's not, no one will show up, it'll be
so having it on a
Last week.
Wednesday will be
Okay,
Monday,
that's-
Tuesday, Wednesday off, Thursday,
I
Friday.
didn't know what the distinction was.
Yeah.
So you said morning of the 10th, did you say that?
Right, so it would be, parent-teacher conferences would be the night of Monday night and Tuesday morning.
And what time would they end Tuesday morning?
So Tuesday morning, they go till noon time.
Okay.
November, so we do an early release day the day before Thanksgiving. Christmas holiday, because of the calendar, gets shorter, we're into the getting shorter and shorter space. One of the, which is not on here, one of the union input was that they would like to have an early release day on December 23rd.
I think so.
So that would be up to the board. I'm not opposed to it. It's not something we've done before, but it was a request of them that I did not add on here.
I think it's a good idea. I don't know what you guys think, but, because, little kids at least, and even some of the older ones will come that day because it's a party. And it's their last chance to give out gifts to their friends and, but.
January, obviously, so we would come back on the 4th. January, that's 18th is Martin Luther King Day. January 29th would be a teacher workshop day. That would be an all-day workshop. And then we scheduled February 10th as an early release to follow up with whatever we were doing at the teacher workshop day on the 29th. March 9th is an early release day, again, another opportunity to do professional development. And that would be an opportunity for the buildings to review their school goals at that point. Where did we land on the school goal? What can we do differently, and start to think about their goal for next year. You have your traditional February and April vacations. April 6th, we have as a teacher workshop day. So the union has asked us to review parent-teacher conferences in April and whether we really should have them or not. So I talked to Deidre about that, and we agreed that we would keep it on as a teacher workshop day with a conversation. I mean, I think it's a longer conversation now with staff and principals about whether we should have spring parent-teacher conferences or not. If we decide not to, that would just become a teacher workshop day. Last day of school would be an early release on June 17th with this calendar.
I don't remember. So we have 3 teacher workshop days in here. How many did we have last year? I know one of them was parent-teacher.
It's the same,
Okay.
it's the same exact number. I think we get 6 altogether, 5 or 6.
So there would be just the one time for parent-teacher conferences then?
So right now, there's 2 still. The
Yes.
April one, I told them, principals and I would have conversation with staff and we'd make some determination of what to keep them or not. But I didn't want the teachers to make that decision. That will be
You know,
a
it's one of those-
conversation we need to have.
It's one of those, just my input, like, you like the fall one if you have older kids, because you wanna know how they're doing in their new school,
Yeah.
you don't see them, you know, you don't see the parents. And you like to have the spring one if you have elementary kids, to know how well
Where they're
positioned
at.
they are for like the next year, you know?
So I didn't want the calendar to drive whether we do them or not.
Yeah,
So we agreed they would stay on, that date would stay, and they would either be parent-teacher conferences or a PD day, depending on where the conversation around parent-teacher conferences went.
Labor Day, too. One of the reasons that we've always had the Friday before Labor Day off is because it's the second busiest traffic day of the year after the 4th of July weekend. There's an awful lot of traffic coming through that square and all over the roads where the buses travel and the kids walk. So it's something to think about. On the 4th, yeah, that's the Friday before Labor Day.
Have we had them off before?
Yeah, we've always had that Friday off. When they started going before Labor Day, it was kind of a concession, because I had brought this up, and it is a terribly busy traffic day.
so, let's say, just for discussion.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm gonna call the roll. Alexandria. Bridgewater. Bristol. Danbury, yes. Groton.
I'm here.
Hebron. And New Hampton. All right, is there a need to modify the agenda? Okay. And Ben LaRoche joining us from Bristol.
It's A or B. A will, you can, like, can be either A or B.
Under new business, right? Plan for delivery?
Yeah, actually B, finalizing recommendation on warrant articles under old business.
Okay. What do we need to add?
Provision for special meeting if the contract's over time.
Do you want to bring it up under other for discussion? Okay, because, like, you bringing it up, even though you don't want it, we can't vote on it unless we have a discussion about it, okay. All right, so you can do that under other. Anyone else? Okay. All right. So we'll accept this amendment if there's no objection. All right, we have 2 sets of minutes, November 10 and December 8. Maybe this would be a place where you can.
Yeah, I can
the
just,
second set.
yeah, if you would like.
I'm going to be abstaining from the second set because I wasn't here, and Vincent Paul went to the New Hampshire School Board Association annual meeting and has something to share about abstentions that will impact the next board.
One of the sessions Saturday at the Concord Triangle building was on effective school board meetings. And I always enjoy going to the SBA session, no matter what it is, because I always learn something. And this was a bit of a surprise to me, anyway. This whole handout is of interest and use to all board members. If you'd like a copy, I'd be happy to provide you. Just ask. And there was a segment in here on abstaining from voting on a motion. And it says abstentions are not votes. Only the number of votes cast is counted in determining a majority or a 2/3 vote. For example, if a school board has 5 members and a motion receives 2 yes votes and 1 no vote, and 2 board members abstain, the motion passes. Which would be a minority vote. And it says the School Board Association advises that school board members do not abstain unless a conflict of interest or bias or prejudice issue is present. The board member feels they do not have enough information, knowledge, or resources to support the motion, and they should vote against the motion. Now, in talking with the parliamentarian that was there to run the meeting afterwards, he said this is mandated by Robert's rules. Check that out. And that if we use Robert's rules, which is what we do use, then you would still want to be consistent. And since I spoke with Ruby about this, and since we haven't recognized this, it might be wise for us to consider either adopting it as part of Robert's rules for the next school board session after the election, or decide after we discuss it what we might want to do about it, and either continue to operate the way we have or not. Because it would make a difference in prior historical votes if we reconsider things. And the point that the parliamentarian made was Robert's rules is considered to be a guide which uses at the discretion of the chair in terms of how the chair wants to enforce or adhere to it. And like anything else, the board itself by majority should decide on what it wants to do, or how it wants to operate. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and there was a number of other things that I'll talk about under other business, just to fill you in on what transpired at the meeting, which was fairly controversial in some aspects, because it was a surprise to me that the past 9 years it's been a bit of a easy day, but it wasn't. So.
I told him to go ahead and explain that because I'm going to abstain from the December 8 meeting minutes since I wasn't here. But, so first, are there any changes for the November 10 minutes?
Minor editorial.
Okay.
Minor.
You want to just send them to, if they're just like grammar, typos?
We looked at a dollar sign.
Okay. And
It's obvious what it is.
anything of substance from any of you? Okay, no, I feel like it's been months. Have we moved these to the consent agenda or done these at this time?
No, we do it for review. That's a point of information.
Yeah.
part of effective meetings, the School Board Association recommended that minutes do go on the consent agenda
Okay,
unless they are borderline transcripts that there's likely to be a lot of corrections.
okay,
Their point was that all you need to do with minutes is record actions,
right.
which is why they suggested that. So
Okay, so on to the December 8th minutes. Anything on there? Do you have something?
Got the letters.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, so if there are no changes, we're gonna put those both on the consent agenda? Okay, at this time, if there's public comment, would you please stand and say your name and what town you're from?
Stacy, they need to be separate.
Yeah, I got 11.
Ruby's gonna abstain on one.
and when Sue arrives, if she's coming, she may go.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So one of them.
Sure, read them as mine. I know, I want. Don't mind the over or something.
Thanks, Casey. Okay, so, no public comment, okay. Moving on to announcements and recognition. Our student liaison is not feeling well, so she's not with us. Our staff liaison is here. Would you like to tell us anything?
Just quickly, this morning, the middle school had the pleasure of the entire BES population in our building this morning, and it was adorable. Number one, I never get to see little guys, and they were so cute. But I was just blown away by how well-behaved everybody was. The middle school kids ate their breakfast, went about their business, grabbed and hugged some little ones that they were either related to or friends to. And you never would have known that the whole elementary school was in the building. They were that well behaved. So it was just really nice to see. It was fun. Apparently there was no heat early this morning at BES, and they had to wait for it to warm up. It kicked on or whatever.
Under other.
What was that?
She said
I'll
she's
talk about it under other.
Yeah.
But it was calm, it was quiet, it was lovely.
We had that last week, but it was the whole middle school, so we had no school. Because there was no place big enough for, all of them. Thank you, Mimi.
Yeah.
Any other announcements and recognitions? Yeah.
I would like to congratulate Paul Harris, who was named as the Assistant Principal of the Year here at Newfoundland Regional High School. It's a great honor. We went to a luncheon on Thursday for him in honor of that. They had a little reception after here. They had one this morning, they had a little breakfast. The students came and congratulated him. It's a wonderful thing. That puts him in the running for National Assistant Principal of the Year, so he'll get to go to DC. I believe he gets lunch with the president, and it's a nice opportunity, and it's a great thing for the high school here. Very proud of him. He works hard to do what he does. Lots of winter concerts. If you look at the school calendar on the new district website.
It looks good. It looks really good.
We still have some kinks we're working out, but for the most part, the website is up and running. Hopefully you'll find it user-friendly. We try to get rid of the duplication, try to make it a little more student-friendly. We have some pictures up there that we're gonna rotate through. It's a great place to put like awards and, things that are happening in our school. And really try to make it more student-friendly and advertise what we're doing. I do want to thank Sue Cross for that work. We have spent about a year working on it, fitting it in when we can. I also want to thank Autumn Fabricant, who wrote a $5,000 grant for Project Promise and got it. It's an arts grant, which will bring an arts program to the elementary school, Project After School program. which was a great opportunity. Again, these are the grants we want to seek. They're not continuing, they're 1 year for a specific project, but provide a great opportunity for our students. This morning at about 10 to 6, I got a call from Alan, our facilities director, that we had to heat both boilers were down at Bristol Elementary School. At that point, it's a little too late to call school or cancel that school because buses are already rolling, kids are getting picked up, and so I made the decision to have the BES students go over to the middle school. We knew they had heat, we could put them in the gym, and so at least we figured out what was going on. I sent out a school reach announcement just to Bristol Elementary School parents, letting them know the plan. We brought them over to the middle school. Like Mimi said, the kids were great. Both staffs were outstanding. We had middle school staff helping to direct and get elementary kids into the building. We took attendance. We got a movie projector set up. We showed a movie for about an hour. In the meantime, we got confirmation that they were back up and running. It was a pump that died, so they were able to fix that right away. We wanted to give about an hour and a half, 2 hours to the building to warm up a little. It was about 50 degrees, so we waited until 9:30. I worked with the bus company. They were great. They came over with 4 buses, picked the kids up. We dropped them off at the elementary school, and they just kind of continued on their day. So kudos to the staff for helping out. They did a really nice job. This week, I think Bristol Elementary School was going to be rolling out their PBIS plan this morning. That was canceled till Wednesday. We tried it. I was like, can we do it here at the middle school? We got everybody in the gym. But they had all kinds of props and things at the elementary school. And I believe the middle school is getting ready to do their rollout as well. For those who don't, that's positive behavior interventions and supports. And it's been a training we've been doing with a team at both the middle school and the elementary school on this. And I think it's going to make a significant difference. And I think it will really help. Just a reminder too, we have early release day on Wednesday. For students, for staff, we will be doing a training on restraint and seclusion, which is a new change in the law. And so we have an attorney coming in to talk to the staff about the changes in the law and what the new requirements are, so that everybody is aware of that. That's all I have.
Are your kids in school yet, then? No, okay. My grandson's in first grade at Bristol, so I'm gonna call him up and say,
How
"Heard
was
you're a
it?"
middle schooler
Yeah.
now."
Right, so just aside, we had more kids have to go to the bathroom. I was like, see, they're in a new building, they have to check out the bathrooms. There was a steady line. I was like, really?
One breakfast.
It's pretty funny.
I bet it was an adventure. Okay, next we have approval and signature on default budget. Oh, no, we don't. I'm sorry, I'm off. Next we have, is there any other announcement recognition? Nope, okay. So next we have old business report out from Hill Subcommittee on approval for tuition agreement. Are we ready to share?
I mean, I can share with the board where we're at.
Yeah.
So, as you know, we decided to begin negotiations with Hill, so Mike and I worked with Barbara Lohman, our attorney, who worked with John Teague to develop a format and kind of a basis.
He's their attorney?
He's their attorney,
Yeah.
yeah, they're a format. And Mike and I I thought did a really nice job making sure everything was in there that we felt needed to be in there. So at this point, the subcommittee is gonna meet tomorrow night to go over that, to see if there's any other changes or recommendations. The Hill subcommittee is gonna be meeting to look at that as well. And then at some point in the very, very near future, we will likely get together to kind of, if there's negotiations or things that need to happen to get that to a place to come to the board. And Barbara did, and you'll see it on the warrants. Barbara did give us language to put as a warrant article for that agreement.
Now, this is funny. Do they really have a subcommittee in Hill on this?
I think it's the chair and maybe the business administrator.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Because I know they've been meeting on this for 18 months, because the last meeting I was at, when they were deciding which school to pursue, somebody said, how come there haven't been any meetings? They said it's been on our agenda every single month for 18 months.
It's
So I
certainly a
think
smaller board.
all 3 of them have been involved in it, yeah.
I have
So,
a question.
yep.
The wording for the warrant. When do we get to see that and approve it, put it on the warrant, if the recommendation is to go forward?
It is, you'll see it on the warrants that you were received in your board packet. You'll see the language, it's Article
So it has been read.
5.
Okay, I missed that. So we're gonna assume that the recommendation is to go forward with that.
Well, that would be this board voting to put that warrant article on the ballot, on the warrant.
And the three of us have seen it, the subcommittee has seen it, we were just waiting for sort of, yeah, but I mean, we'd also seen the language ourselves.
The warrant article.
Okay, so, I wasn't here at the last meeting to report on their meeting, was I?
Ben
So,
did.
Ben did, okay, and I was at the Hill meeting when they made the decision to go with us. It was well attended, it was better attended than the other ones that I went. Okay, next we have finalize and recommendation of warrants for 15 and 16.
So I am going to pass you out a new version. There's two things that are different on there. As I sent you an email, the default budget was incorrect. I had not added in the grants and the food service budget on the copy you had gotten, so this has the correct default. You'll also noted the budget committee. Oh, what did I do? Oh yeah, the budget committee.
Was this already?
The budget committee has also voted on the warrant articles after the budget hearing on Friday, so you'll see there, with the exception of, I just am realizing Article 4 I didn't put in there, but they voted to recommend it by vote of, I put it under school board. Okay, I know I did this.
Wait, I'm getting a little confused, but can I just interrupt for a minute and say, Leah, I want to acknowledge that Sue Cheney's joined us, okay, for the audio. So our full board is present. I'm
So-
sorry,
yeah,
Stacy.
That's okay, so the two changes were on Article 4, the operating budget.
Mhm.
The copy that was in your packet had a default budget of $20 million and something. I did not add in the food service and the grants budget. This is the copy that has that added in there, so the
Yeah.
actual default is the 22 million. This also has all of the budget committee recommendations on there. They voted after the budget hearing on Thursday to recommend remaining with the budget that they had brought forward at the budget hearing.
Okay, when you say in our packet, it wasn't.
No, it's in the one you have right there. that I
Okay,
just
all right. I
posted.
didn't know if we
There's
had
one in
two
your
that we
packet
were
as well.
comparing.
Yeah, there's one in your packet that was sent out.
Okay, all right, I was trying to compare it and I
Yeah.
couldn't find.
So the one in the packet doesn't have the budget committee recommendations, because they didn't have them when I sent out the packet.
Okay,
So this one does, with the exception of operating budget, which I clearly put school board voted as opposed to budget committee voted, so I just need to move that.
okay. And I had asked you to explain the difference between the operating budget and the default budget, and why, everybody was shocked when I said the default budget should be less, and even the audience said, oh no, default's always higher. Could you explain how that
Yeah, so
happens?
if you remember, so the default budget is this year's budget, plus or minus any contractual obligations or one-time expenses.
Yep.
So think about the fact that the budget, in this alone, so the budget we presented to the public is like $14,000, a small number more than this current year's budget. So if you consider that, and then add in the current budget, add in all the increases, like for retirement, for health insurance changes, that bumps the budget even higher, the current year's budget.
Yeah.
Remember, in that, but the current year's budget, you're not taking out, so we cut staffing, you're not taking those staffing out, so you go with the assumption it's the same budget.
Yep,
So therefore, that's how it becomes lower, is when you actually start cutting and reducing your budget, it tends to become a lower budget than your default.
okay, thank you.
I think you see that more and more often as districts are cutting budgets.
Yep.
Madam Chair, comment on sequence. In the past, we have always decided to make the final article the operating budget for purposes of attendance. And notice we have that as Article 4 instead of Article 6 this year. And I would like to continue to do that, because I don't want to see a bunch of people leave the meeting once the budget's passed. That was a reason for it. I think that was the reason.
They can be arranged however this board would like them to be arranged. Doesn't really impact anything. I mean, typically you do put your petition warrant articles last, but that's not required by law.
I think maybe this, putting the operating budget at the end goes way, way back to before we were SB2, because what would happen then is people would leave at 11:30 at night, and at 1 in the morning, people would change the budget. So it might have been moved to the last for that reason too, to prevent any, let's rehash the whole thing again after everyone's left. So I'm fine with that. Do you guys have any? Yeah,
Should be moved.
to the end?
So move the operating budget to after the petition warrant article?
Yeah.
Okay.
To be the last one.
Yeah.
On the petition warrant article, let me see if I can find it. I had seen something that was like a little error, and I didn't know this was at the budget hearing.
I copied it exactly how they worded it.
Yeah,
on their
that's what I
warrant,
was wondering.
on their petition.
I don't know what it was. It was like, oh, I know. See how it says junior bears on the line above the last line? So bears isn't capitalized. Yeah, that's all. But if it was exactly as they had it, then that's the way it's.
I'll double check, and I'm sure I could probably capitalize bears, but
I just, yeah, the other night.
I don't think they will object.
Yeah.
Stacy, you said you picked up the 8-0 vote of the school board versus the budget committee.
Under the operating budget, you just see where it says the school board voted to recommend this article by 8, that's really the budget committee. I just wrote it in the wrong spot, I will fix that.
Um,
I did this just before the meeting, I was trying to get it to you.
The other thing that I have a concern about is tomorrow is the deadline at 5 o'clock, right?
Correct.
So we really can't approve this until then.
You can approve it, it's just that if you get a petition warrant article, you'll need to meet again. If there's money, the budget committee will need to meet again, you'll have to have another hearing, so. Yeah, you can approve these now, and then it's just, if you get a petition warrant article, then everybody has to meet again, no matter what.
Okay.
Anything else on these?
And we should add my suggestion.
What was that? Go ahead.
To add an article for the provision of a special meeting if the teacher contract is defeated.
I'm gonna open it up for discussion, but if you wanted to propose the article, we will need it written before we can approve it. You've got it from last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So do you wanna explain to the others what you have in mind?
Last year, we included an article for a provision for a special meeting, so we wouldn't have to go to the state to request a special meeting, go through all the legal hassle of having a special meeting. If the teacher's contract is voted down, and then after the vote, we were able to renegotiate a different contract, then we'd have the authority to hold a special meeting to vote on the revised contract.
Yeah?
The reason that I'm opposed to doing this year is it would essentially be a slap in the face to the teachers if we did it. And the reason I say that is we flat out told them at the very beginning of negotiations that we did not intend to do that this year for purposes of getting everyone to agree on a contract. So to come back and provide that option at this point, I think is inconsistent with what we had done strategically and very open with the data.
I think too that when you have 100% of the budget committee and 100% of the school board supporting the contract, if it doesn't pass, well, there's nothing that we can renegotiate that would.
Yeah,
I'm uncomfortable with that as well.
I don't think it serves any meaningful purpose.
you know, with one of our goals to get it passed. So if we have any doubt, then we should be talking to people and making sure they go for it. And on that note, I did have communication with Deidre about putting something together and getting it out in the press, you know, joint statement. Because if you remember, they were working with a PR consultant, and so I said, how's that going, and have they come up with anything? And they haven't. So she and I are going to do something.
With not having it in there, may give them some impetus to help them sign the contract.
Both sides, I think, yeah. Are you okay? Do you want to bring this to a vote?
Yeah. Enough reasons why not to include it this year.
Okay.
I have a couple of quick questions, Ruby, if I may. On the petition warrant article, and I'll, I guess, ask for forgiveness beforehand for probably not knowing this answer, or at least a couple of these answers, but I know in the past, we have had, or we have a middle school football program. Do we currently still have an active middle school football program?
Good question.
We as a school district do not have a middle school football program. It's kind of like a community, it's the Junior Bears, which if you had to equate it, it's like a subsidy of the Friends of Newfound Football, kind of for the middle school. So they do all the fundraising, they support it, we pay for nothing. Parents transfer, they play other middle school, public school teams, but the school district doesn't support it at all.
Volunteer.
They
Yes.
don't use our grounds either.
No.
Does NHIA not recognize middle school football?
No, they do.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so if this passed and we took over football, it would be an NHIA sport, it would go through the same requirements as all middle school sports do.
And do we know, have any idea, or a couple that we know of divisional opponents, rivals that also have middle school programs? Or?
So it would be all, I mean, most Division III teams that we play, I mean, it's a feeder program, so a lot of them either have like a community program or a school-sponsored program.
Are you looking for names of schools?
Yeah, I guess it's
Yeah, I just-
difficult, I
yeah.
think, because of that community-based
I'm-
thing to work through NHIAA and the
Yeah.
individual school districts and really figure out who had.
I know Sue has a comment, but I'm thinking, Ann, do you know some of them that we play?
I know who we play, but I don't know who is a school versus who is
Yeah,
some
a
other
middle
school.
school. I mean, I can certainly
You know,
look and
like
research it, I'm
West
sure.
Palm, Laconia, Plymouth, we played at the middle school level.
Don't know. And you said you have a couple questions?
That was it, really.
Okay.
Just kind of some background.
Sue?
Well, I had been talking to one of the friends, and he said that, I believe, for 10 years, they have been supporting this football team. And some of them, of course, have other commitments too. It's getting harder and harder for them to find the time to raise that much money.
Yep.
Yeah, this is, I think, along those lines, evidence of what we're going to be facing as time passes. And my opinion on this is, this feeder program is very important in order to maintain a varsity program in the first place. And I think this year there's probably 22 or 24 kids at the high school that play football, which is just barely an offense and a defense. And so the need for this is the kind of thing that comes along when the population decreases to the point where it's going to be an issue. And you've got to be able to support a varsity program with a feeder program. And fewer parents are able to maintain the burden of raising the funds necessary on their own and still contribute for the next 4 or 5 years to the high school program as well. And so, as leaders of the community, I think we should interpret what the need is behind this for other purposes. And understand that clearly, because this is evidence that it's becoming a problem. And under other business, I was going to pass out an article that was published in the Union Leader yesterday that supports the issue of student enrollment continuing to decline statewide, just to be informative from alternative sources. And so, for the parents, in order to continue the varsity program, I hope this article does pass, because otherwise the burden on the middle school parents is going to be even greater.
Jeff has a comment, and then I have a procedural question. Go ahead.
I spoke in support of this at the Budget Committee meeting, and I'm going to summarize what I said then and add to it a little bit. One of the big concerns in the school supporting the program at the middle school will be that it will allow for confession testing, which at this point cannot be done because the parents do not have that authority. The other thing I talked about was the middle school gets a bad rap. A lot of people have some negative things to say about the school and the programs. And this is a program that the entire community can and will get behind the support, that has benefits to the individual students that go beyond their academic education. It works on teamwork, spirit building, individual self-image. In so many ways, I think this program not only will support the kids in the school, but will help with the community image of the school. So I have to support it.
My procedural question is, I see that the Budget Committee voted, but I thought the board and the Budget Committee did not vote on petition items.
But that was going to be my next one.
I think you can vote on anything that has money attached to it.
I think the board has never voted on a petition item because it's up to the public and it's already put out there by 25 registered voters. Sue?
And the consistency point is that
Yeah.
someone raises an issue from the floor,
Right.
you wouldn't vote on it at that point.
Right, you're not, so remember, you're not voting whether it should be on there or not. You're voting whether you think you're recommending people vote for it or not.
I know, and I think that's why petition items have never been voted on by this board before, because they weren't created by the board. Sue, can you recall
I
a time?
I'm not sure that the money made any difference.
Right.
Yeah.
So on the MS 27, we have to mark whether the board recommends or does not recommend this. The same with the budget committee, so there's like a column, so if we put it in, you're not, it's just, I don't know what to do to say that, like,
Yeah.
no one recommended, no one offered an opinion on it. So.
It isn't that I have a problem, because I don't have it's like signing a petition. People have the right to put something on there. So I sign petitions because people have the right to see if the voters want it, whatever it may be. But I just had never seen
Right,
this
and then-
voted on before.
Right, but just then the two bodies make a recommendation of whether you support that article that the petitioners gave you.
I believe it's subject to the tax cap too, right?
Right, it's subject to the tax cap.
The other reason I rose the issue of the deadline for petition articles is I was asked about the kindergarten thing again today and was told that there is going to be one. We'll see whether or not that actually happens or not in time, and whether, for that matter, if it's approved. But be that as it may, I think we should be consistent. And in the past, as Ruby has said, the board has not voted to indicate a preference for petition warrant articles. And if another one shows up, I guess we get a crack at it anyway, but be that as it may, we should decide to be consistent, I think.
can't speak to consistency, but I think from a leadership of the community standpoint, we should voice support or not over anything that involves the school district, and particularly when it involves money.
Doesn't prevent us from doing that after meeting individually or collectively, but it's just a matter of procedure.
I don't think that taking a vote now would be any different than taking a vote to recommend it without putting it on the warrant.
Well, it has to go on the warrant, we have no
Right.
choice
Yeah.
either way.
Right, but we could make a resolution to publicly support the warrant item, whether we do it on the warrant or not. Much the same way we have publicly taken the position to support the teacher's contract.
I'm in support of football, however, I worry about the first thing that came out of your mouth when it comes to the concussion studies. That is a huge concern for me for such young people. I mean, I know the importance of sports, but it's scary. And I know it's a parent's choice to let their child play, but, oof, it worries me.
Better we should have this ability to give them concussion testing, rather than having them
Have a
participate.
concussion. If we're
And
gonna
have
have
a concussion
football.
and we not be able to test for it.
Yeah.
I mean, they are going, I would hazard that whether the article passes or not, I think the junior bears are gonna continue to exist, much as they have this past year and years previous.
Well, I certainly hope you're correct. My concern is that.
So, where I'm going with that is, I would much rather them have the school district support and the ability to test these students than then continue to play without that support and that testing.
Is it my understanding with the NHIA is that if you have two sports in two separate buildings, they cannot, like, work together? Say you have an 8th grader that is a fabulous football player.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
can't
that's-
listen to you,
sorry.
because this conversation's going on. Can you please, Fred, can you start again? I couldn't hear you.
Through the NHIA, if you have sports in two separate buildings, can they work together, I guess that's what I'm saying, in the sense of, if you have a fabulous 8th grade player, can they come to the high school and be on that team? Or do they have to stay separate?
I believe they have to stay separate, and there are some provisions for 8th graders playing at the high school. I don't know if they have to be in the same location, or if you can bring somebody from out of the only way an 8th grader can participate is if the roster is not full at the high school level. Now, I would be very concerned about 8th graders playing at the high school level in football, out of any sport, because you're playing against seniors, who could be potentially pretty big kids.
But if you have those low numbers, but where the buildings are not together, I just wanted to see.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to figure out how to get kids from the middle school to the high school. I don't know if you have to be in the same location to do that, if it's like a 7 to 12 school, or if you can have separate schools. I don't know how the NHIA works, those regulations.
Yeah, I need to-
Okay. Anyone else on this one?
Just a follow-up comment. As opposed to breaking the prior procedure and taking a position on a petition warrant article, I would suggest that for those of us that are in favor of this, then let's just assume it's the entire board for that, for the purpose of discussion. If each of us got up individually at the deliberative session and spoke in favor of this petition warrant article, I think it would have a lot more weight than just saying that we voted 7-0. Just a personal choice. Now, we're at a controversial petition warrant article.
It will be, for some people, because they'll be like, it's 15,000 this year, but next year, what's it going to be? And when football started, we were promised that it wouldn't be, that's gonna come up. So there will be controversy over it.
Yeah, but I mean, We're just talking about a procedural thing here.
Yeah.
The merit for concussion and the reasons for them to do this.
Well, I'm in
That's
favor.
the same question.
Yeah, I'm in favor of us voting on these each individually when it's time to vote, and including this one in that, if you guys are.
I mean, at the deliberative.
No, I mean tonight, when we vote on each of these later.
So you're suggesting that you want to take a vote and indicate the results?
Yeah, because I don't want it to say the budget committee voted to recommend this article, and then have nothing from the school board. I just think that'll look
But
silly.
if you say what Vinnie's talking about in the sense of standing up and giving your support and vote at that time, right? Is that what you're indicating?
Yeah, I
Then
think.
what, I mean,
But-
so they chose to vote when they voted, why do we have to follow suit then?
Right, and one of the points is that,
Because everyone at home won't see that. The people voting at the polls won't see that.
well, the reason this occurred was, I think, I'm gonna make an assumption here, Stacy, I don't know, but because this had been submitted on time, it was presented to the budget committee. Just kind of fell into the,
Right, because it's a petition warrant article, so it has to go on the warrant, we
Yeah.
don't have an option. I did just look at last year's, you didn't have any petition warrant articles, so I would have had no knowledge that you wouldn't have recommend. I mean, traditionally, if the board votes to recommend or not recommend warrant articles, and you made a motion at some point, you recommend or not recommend all money articles.
And you can still get up and speak to the
Right,
article, whether you voted for it or not.
But if we don't vote, what the people at the polls will see is Article 6 recommended by the budget committee, no comment by the school board.
well, yes, if it,
I would think that would be an indication that we support it.
They would be, people would probably not vote for it because they'd wonder. Yep.
Because of the purpose of the recommendation is for the voters in the polls to know what the budget committee and the school board did at the time they make their vote, I think it's only appropriate and probably necessary that we do make a recommendation.
So,
And if there should be another petition warrant article, that we should follow suit and be consistent.
well, that's the challenge that it presents from my perspective. But, we can do by majority whatever we want, including breaking tradition, if you will.
well, I'm okay with breaking tradition because it's already been broken here. And I don't want us left behind or just looking like we can't,
Yeah, and to say it's tradition or not, I mean,
yeah.
it's a matter of what happens if you are in support of one but not another. So,
Well, that's important information.
Yeah, so if you're okay, we'll just vote on each of these individually, right? We don't vote on the whole warrant, we vote on each.
Right, you should do
item
each one individually.
And so we'll do that after the next public comment, when we vote on the consent items as well. Okay? All right. Let's see, approval and signature on default budget and MS 27.
Yep, so you don't have them, because we still have to do them, so we will, once we have the warrants, you'll have the warrants, the default budget, and the MS 27 to sign off on.
Okay,
So it will probably be kind of middle to end of week, we'll send you all an email, we need at least a majority of you to stop by the SAU office and sign those documents.
okay,
So that's just your reminder that you have to do that.
okay.
You will sit on the 19th?
Thank you. Okay, policies for second read and approval. So they've all been read before. Are there any concerns about them going through? Okay, can you do the policy letters for us, Don?
JED,
JED will be
John, Edward, Donald.
Oh, the very last one.
Attendance, absenteeism, and truancy.
So that's for the,
In the revision, it says that the principal will send the student's parents a letter